Democrats reportedly are planning to issue a wave of subpoenas in their impeachment push as President Trump says he would cooperate if he gets a fair shake and predicts that the fight will end up before the nation's highest court.
We wrote a letter yesterday and probably ends up being a big Supreme Court case. Maybe it goes a long time, I don't know. But the Republican Party has been treated unbelievably badly and unfairly by the Democrats.
This is absolutely devastating for Donald Trump. I mean, we're talking about a federal appeals court dropping a ruling that doesn't just reject Trump's legal arguments. It completely obliterates the entire foundation he's been building his defense on for years. And what makes this moment so significant, what makes this different from every other legal setback Trump has faced, is that this ruling comes at the exact moment when Trump himself has been privately telling Republicans that his presidency is hanging by a thread, that if they lose Congress in the midterms, he's done. He's getting impeached. Those are his words, not mine. And now a 3-judge panel just handed Democrats the legal roadmap to make that happen. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are, but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. That's why we built Patrick Smith Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. So the DC Circuit Court of Appeals just released a unanimous decision, 3 judges. All of them looked at Trump's immunity claims, the argument that's been the centerpiece of his entire legal strategy, and they said no. Not just no, but absolutely not. They used language that leaves zero room for interpretation. They said no president has blanket immunity for criminal acts committed while in office. And they specifically named Trump. This wasn't some abstract legal principle they were discussing in theoretical terms. This was a direct rejection of everything Trump's lawyers have been arguing in courtrooms across the country. Share this video with everyone you know, because the timing of this ruling is what makes it so explosive. We're heading into 2026, midterm elections. The elections that will determine whether Republicans keep control of Congress or whether Democrats take it back. And Trump stood up at a Republican retreat on January 6th of this year. Yes, that January 6th, the anniversary. And he told his own party what's going to happen if they lose. He said it straight out. If we lose the midterms, I'm getting impeached. Not maybe, not possibly. He said it like it's already decided, like he knows exactly what's coming if Democrats get subpoena power and the ability to launch investigations and the votes to pass articles of impeachment through the House. Now think about what that means. The sitting president of the United States is openly predicting his own impeachment. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. He's telling Republicans that the only thing standing between him and another impeachment trial is their ability to win elections and maintain power. That's an extraordinary admission, because what he's really saying is that there's enough evidence against him to justify impeachment. The only question is whether his political allies have enough power to block it from happening. And now this court ruling drops right into that situation and gives Democrats everything they need to make the case even stronger. Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith Show, because here's where it gets really interesting. The betting markets, the people who put actual money on political outcomes, they're already moving on this story. Right now, they've got the odds of Trump getting impeached in 2026 at about 13%. That might sound low until you remember that impeachment is one of the rarest events in American political history. It's only happened a handful of times ever. So 13% is actually pretty significant when you consider the baseline. But here's the number that should make everyone sit up and pay attention. By January 2028, before the next presidential election even happens, those odds jump to 50%. A coin flip. The smart money thinks there's an even chance Trump faces another impeachment before his term ends. And that was before this court ruling came down, before the DC Circuit demolished his immunity defense. Those numbers are probably going to shift higher now, because what this ruling does is remove Trump's main legal shield. The argument that he's been using in every case, in every court, to every judge, that the presidency itself protects him. That while he's sitting in the Oval Office, he's essentially untouchable. The court just said that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works, and they were unanimous about it. Now let me explain why this ruling matters so much beyond just the immediate legal implications. Trump's entire strategy for years has been built around delay and immunity. His lawyers file motion after motion trying to slow everything down. They argue that he can't be prosecuted while serving as president. They claim that even after he leaves office, he's still protected because the actions happened while he was president. It's been an endless cycle of legal maneuvering designed to run out the clock, to push everything past elections, past statutes of limitations, past the point where anyone still cares or remembers. That strategy just took a massive hit. Think about what that means for the cases against him. Jack Smith's federal prosecution, the Georgia election interference case, all the investigations that have been sitting in legal limbo while courts work through these immunity questions. This ruling creates momentum. It establishes precedent. It tells other judges that Trump's immunity claims don't hold up, that they can move forward with proceedings without worrying about some magical presidential shield that makes him untouchable. The legal walls that have been slowly closing in just got a lot closer, and Trump knows it. You can see it in his social media posts. He's been going absolutely ballistic about this ruling, posting over and over about how presidents need full immunity, not partial immunity, not immunity for some things, full immunity for everything. He's treating every court loss as a personal attack on the institution of the presidency itself. But the judges aren't buying it. They're not impressed by the arguments. They're not swayed by the political pressure. They're looking at the law and the Constitution, and they're saying Trump doesn't get special treatment just because he won an election. Now here's where the political calculation gets really interesting, because this isn't just about legal proceedings anymore. This is about what happens in November 2026. The midterms that Trump himself says will determine whether he gets impeached. Republicans are watching these court rulings and they're doing the math. They're looking at Trump's approval numbers. They're seeing the polling data about competitive House races. They're calculating whether defending Trump helps them or hurts them with voters who are going to decide their political futures. Some Republicans are quietly furious about all of this. They can't say it publicly because Trump's base would destroy them. But behind closed doors, there are conversations happening about whether Trump has become too much of a liability, whether his legal problems and his constant controversies and his inability to stay out of trouble are dragging down the entire party. And if the midterms go badly, if Republicans lose the House, some of those quiet critics might suddenly get a lot louder. They might start looking for an exit strategy, a way to distance themselves from Trump before he takes them all down with him. Share this with everyone because the court ruling opens that door. It gives Republicans who want to abandon Trump a legitimate reason to do it. They can say, we respect the rule of law. We respect what the courts have decided. We can't defend someone who the courts say is not above accountability. It's political cover. It's an excuse. But it's an excuse that might actually work with voters who are exhausted by Trump's constant drama and legal problems. Democrats are already preparing for this moment. They've been relatively quiet about impeachment talk because they know they don't have the votes right now. Bringing it up just energizes Trump's base without accomplishing anything. But this court ruling changes the equation. Now they can point to federal judges, not partisan politicians, but actual members of the judiciary appointed through proper constitutional processes, and say these judges agree Trump can be held accountable. These judges say he's not above the law. If we win back the House, we're going to do exactly what the Constitution allows and what the courts say is appropriate. The subpoena strategy is already being planned. Democrats want testimony from everyone who was involved in Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, former White House counsel, state officials who got pressured to find votes, people who organized fake elector schemes, all of it. And with this court ruling in hand, they've got a much stronger legal foundation to demand that testimony. Trump can't claim executive privilege over everything. He can't hide behind immunity arguments that the courts have already rejected. The protective walls are crumbling. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because Trump's response to all of this tells you everything about how worried he actually is. Despite the tough guy act he puts on for supporters, despite the confident social media posts about how he's going to win everything, his actions reveal fear. He's already talking about taking fights to the Supreme Court. He's already warning about how unfair everything is. He's already predicting his own impeachment. Those aren't the moves of someone who feels secure in their position. Those are the moves of someone who sees the walls closing in and is desperately trying to find a way out. And the Supreme Court might not save him this time. Yes, they issued a ruling earlier about presidential immunity for official acts. That was a controversial decision that gave Trump broader protection than a lot of legal experts thought was appropriate. But this DC Circuit ruling draws a crucial distinction. It says trying to overturn an election you lost is not an official presidential act. Pressuring state officials to manufacture votes is not an official act. Creating fake elector certificates is not an official act. All of that falls outside the immunity zone, and that means Trump can be prosecuted for it. The constitutional crisis this creates is unlike anything we've seen. Because if Trump is still in office when criminal trials start happening, we're in completely uncharted territory. Can you try a sitting president? Does the trial get postponed until after their term? What happens if there's a conviction while they're still serving? Nobody really knows because it's never happened before. The founders didn't anticipate this exact scenario. And now we're all going to find out in real time how the system handles it. Think about what that means for governance. Trump is going to be consumed by legal battles. His attention is going to be divided between running the country and defending himself in multiple courtrooms. His political capital is going to be drained by constant scandals and revelations and testimony. He's not going to be able to focus on policy or legislation or any of the normal work of being president. He's going to be in pure survival mode, and that affects everyone. That affects the economy, that affects foreign policy, that affects every aspect of government when the president is fighting for his political life. The 2026 midterms become a referendum on all of this. Republicans are going to have to defend Trump and his legal problems and his constant controversies. They're going to have to explain to voters why they're standing by someone who courts say is not above the law. Democrats are going to run on accountability and the rule of law and the need for checks and balances. Every campaign ad is going to feature this court ruling. Every debate is going to come back to whether Trump should face consequences. The election becomes about one question. Should Trump be held accountable, or should he get away with everything? Current polling suggests Democrats have a real shot at flipping the House. Not a guarantee, but a legitimate possibility. Trump's approval numbers are underwater. Generic ballot polling favors Democrats. Voters are exhausted by chaos and drama. If those trends hold, if the election happens and Democrats win back the House, then everything Trump predicted comes true. Impeachment proceedings start almost immediately. Subpoenas get issued, investigations launch, and this time there's a court ruling backing up the entire effort. The trial in the Senate would be different from the previous impeachments too, because now you've got federal judges saying Trump's immunity arguments don't work. You've got legal precedent establishing that he can be held accountable. Republican senators who might have hidden behind procedural objections before now have to make a clear choice. Do they vote to convict based on evidence and court rulings? Or do they vote to acquit and face voters who watch the entire process? It's a much harder political calculation when you can't claim it's all partisan and there's nothing legitimate about it. Some Republicans might actually vote to convict this time, not because they've developed principles or grown spines, but because they're looking for an exit from the Trump era, because they're thinking about their own political futures in a post-Trump world, because they want to be able to tell voters they stood up when it mattered. This court ruling gives them the cover to do it, gives them a way to break with Trump that doesn't look like pure political betrayal. Now, I want to be completely honest about something important. We've been here before. We've had moments where it looked like Trump was finally going to face consequences, where it seemed like accountability was coming and justice would prevail. And somehow Trump always manages to slip away. He survives, he fights another day. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is definitely the end, that Trump is finished and it's all over. I've been wrong about that before. A lot of people have been wrong about that before. What I will tell you is that this moment is different in significant ways. The legal foundation is stronger. The political dynamics are shifting. Trump himself is predicting what comes next. The courts are rejecting his defenses. The smart money is betting on impeachment. All of those factors together create a situation unlike anything we've seen before. Whether it actually results in accountability or whether Trump finds another way to escape, that remains to be seen. But the walls are definitely closing in. The options are definitely narrowing. The time is definitely running out. The next 2 years are going to be absolutely brutal in terms of political combat. Trump is going to fight with everything he has. He's going to appeal every ruling. He's going to attack every judge. He's going to claim persecution and witch hunts and political bias. His supporters are going to rally around him and claim this is all just Democrats trying to overturn an election. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be exhausting. And it's going to dominate every news cycle until it's resolved one way or another. But here's what matters. The courts have spoken. They've said Trump is not above the law. They've rejected his immunity claims. They've opened the door for prosecution and accountability. Whether that door actually gets walked through depends on what happens in November 2026, on whether Democrats win back the House, on whether Republicans decide Trump is worth defending, on whether the American political system can actually hold a president accountable when it matters most. Trump knows what's at stake. That's why he's already predicting his own impeachment. That's why he's telling Republicans they have to win or else. That's why he's fighting these court cases so desperately. Because he understands that if he loses the legal battles and loses the political battles, there's no escape, no immunity, no protection, just consequences for actions that courts say were not protected by the office he holds. Stay tuned, because this story is just beginning. The ruling dropped. The reaction is starting. The political calculations are being made. And the next chapter gets written in November 2026, when voters decide what comes next. This is history happening in real time. This is the American system being tested in ways it's never been tested before. And we're all going to see whether accountability wins or whether power protects itself one more time. Keep watching. Keep paying attention. Because what happens next determines not just Trump's fate, but the future of presidential accountability in America.